Hello, my name is Julia and welcome. Today I will be doing a monthly wrap-up of all the books I read in August. There are only 5 of those, but some of them were fairly large and others quite heavy-going and difficult, so I'm contented with the number of books read as it is. So let's begin. The first book I read this month was God's Grave by J. Christoph. I read it on my lovely e-reader, without which I cannot imagine my life. And going back to God's Grave itself, it is the second book in the Nevernight Chronicles by Christoph, a sequel to Nevernight. As for the plot, our main character, young assassin called Mia, sells herself to the gladiators with a view to killing the main villain, the consul, probably the main guy in the Republic, because she wants to avenge the death of her family. And it was this main villain who killed basically her family, or at least ordered them to be killed. This was not as cringe as the first book in the series, which I picked up by accident, and although I was really absorbed in it, still I felt like it was cringe. But it was not as captivating as the first book either. I would have rated this as a 3-star, but for the last 10 or 15 pages, which were just crawling with different plot twists. You know, the father is not the father, those who ought to be dead are not dead, or at least not completely dead, and all this telescope just into the final chapter of the book. It was mind-blowing. I couldn't help sharing, and when I finished the book at 11:30 in the evening, I still got up from my bed and found my father just to share my experience of finishing this book with someone, even if this someone is the person who had never heard of this book before. I also want to mention that I didn't enjoy this book as much as the first one, partly because my favorite characters from the first book were absent, well, for the reason that they ought to be dead, although some of them aren't. Well, read and see for yourself. Still, I believe that I will be reading the third part soon, and so God's Grave ended up rated as a 4-star book in my reading journal. Then I reread The Northern Lights. Actually, I reread it in translation. I've owned this book since I was too little to read in English. Like, I got the copy in 2016, and that's when I first read it. And back then, I didn't really understand what this book was about. I was struggling to understand the half of the plot, and so I firmly believe that although Lyra, the main character, is quite young, this book is nonetheless not for children at all, rather for young adults, or maybe adults as they are. So the main character, Lyra Belacqua, at 11, as far as I remember, year-old girl, ends up embroiled in a lot of intrigues connected to people researching the dust. It is a mysterious essence, some mysterious particles in the air that are connected to the magic of this world, where every person has a daemon, which is like their soul, but not inside them, but outside in the form of an animal. And so Lyra ends up entangled into those intrigues, and also into the intrigues of her parents, who just want to get famous, and probably get famous without each other, just on their own. Lord Ezreal, this time, actually proved to be my favorite character. His morals are fairly dubious. I mean, he doesn't seem to be a nice person, but at least he's an interesting one. And my favorite scene of this whole book is the last one where, oh, or probably the last but one, at least that's the scene where Lord Ezreal meets Mrs. Coulter, just as the northern lights are shining, and as we're gonna leap into something bigger. I also want to note that I found out that Lyra actually is quite a naughty child. When I was 10 myself, I didn't notice it, but this time I really felt like I didn't want to meet her in real life. And yeah, one more thought on this book. Bolvangar, the fields of the evil, as they're called by the witches in this book, for the first time really felt like something scary and eerie. So, when I was a child, I didn't experience any fear when I read the chapters dedicated to Bolvangar. Okay, it didn't seem like the most pleasant place in the world, but there wasn't anything so bad about it. But this time, I really felt like they're scary, they're repelling, and that's not the place where anyone deserves to be. I will be reading the second part of his Dark Material series by Pullman too, and this book was a solid 5-star for me. Now we're moving on to two non-fiction books I read this month. The first of those being The Secret Life of Programs by Jonathan Steinhardt. I also read this in translation. To be honest, I don't think that I would have I would be able to read it in original at all. I don't think that I would have managed it. It was difficult, extremely difficult and heavy going, even as it was in my mother tongue. So this book's target audience are programmers in the making, people who already know a lot of things and want to refine and update their abilities and their talents, or everything that they want to update or what they know about programming, and to go into more depth. Although I'm a little bit familiar with some coding, I mean, I do know some things about it. Nevertheless, I'm definitely not the target audience of this book, and I think the reading was so difficult partly because of that reason. For this reason too, I didn't rate this book. I mean, I can't give it like 5 stars because I hardly understood half of the text, but I can't give it a low rating either because it's my fault that I picked it up while I'm not its target audience. So in the end, not to rate it was the best decision I could have made. But this book was pretty instrumental in my deciding not to major in IT after all. And also, I did learn some new things about computers from it. So in the end, I think that the purpose of this book was fulfilled. I mean, I learned something new. That's what nonfiction books are for. And I just don't want to dwell on it for too long. The other nonfiction book I read this month was Come As You Are by Emily Nagoski. This is a non-fiction book about women's sexuality. I picked it up because I heard Leonie from the book Leo given it really high ratings and recommended it to every woman living in this world, and I was not at all disappointed by it. It was another 5-star book of this month, and I'm really glad that I read it like in advance. I mean, most of the situations in the book are not yet relatable for me, and most pieces of advice given in the book are not yet applicable. But I think that this information is one of those things that you'd better learn early than too late or not at all. So it's my turn to recommend this book to you to read as soon as you can, because it is really enlightening and, well, a great nonfiction. I think the best nonfiction book I've read so far. And the last read of this month was a goddamn masterpiece. Yep, I finally got to Babel. Babel, this goddamn masterpiece set in the alternative reality of 1830s Oxford, well, mostly Oxford, but obviously other places too. Our main character, Robin Swift, is taken from Canton, where his family perishes during sorry, I forgot the word. During an epidemic, yeah, that's the word, where his family has just perished after an epidemic. He's whisked to London, where he lives in a professor's place and prepares to enter Oxford. And then he finally enters Oxford as a future translator. And at the point where I have to mention that translation is what the magic system of this world is built on. Like, translation is the bedrock of magic in Babel's world. And no sooner does Robin get into Oxford, then he gets acquainted with some outlaws from the Hermes Society, who are, say, not particularly happy with the imperialism of the British Empire. And slowly but surely, lives of Robin and his cohorts are intertwined with the lives of the Hermes Society members. And at some point, Robin and his classmates even start feeling not contented with what they're doing, and with the reason they're doing it for, and get even more involved with the Hermes Society. I think that's all that you needed to know about the plot, and now, like, to my impressions of the book. First, I absolutely loved, like, really loved the dark academia vibe of the first parts of the book. I think it was maybe even greater than the dark academia vibe of the Secret History, because in the Secret History there were also, like, alcohol and other strange things, but there was nothing like that. There was just Oxford and studying and translations, and I really pitied the fact that my Latin is not quite up to the mark, because after reading this book I really want to improve it. And I also absolutely love the transition from the first Dark Academia part to the second part, where the world just goes to the hell. And the second part of the book is extremely fast-paced, and even more unputdownable than the first part. What I didn't really like, or whom I didn't really like, is actually the main character. To me, Robin is an extremely unsympathetic person, and to be frank, the most relatable character in the book was Letty. And I must say that I'm not really happy about the writer's attitude to Letty. Well, when you read this book, you learn more about her, but when I read the not the forewords, but the afterwords and the acknowledgements, the author's attitude to Letty was pretty much disappointing. And I mean, it's a game, definitely gave me some food for thought. I mean, the fact that I could easily identify with Letty for the most of the narration. But still, she's more likable than Robin himself. I mean, at least she's consistent and not yellow-bellied, as Robin is for the most of the narration. Yeah, I want to mention for one more time that is a goddamn masterpiece, like the best dark academia book I've ever read. And this is probably all I could say about Babel. Oh no, one more idea. One killing, one murder disrupts, is able to disrupt the whole darn world. Just keep it in mind. And this brings me to the end of this wrap-up video. I hope that you enjoyed it, and I hope that you get back to see more of my videos. If you want to see me again, please subscribe to my channel, Julia Caesar, and bye!